In the sun-drenched city of Kos, the bustling streets echoed with the sounds of merchants hawking their wares, children laughing, and scholars deep in discussion. Among the throng was a young physician named Hippocrates, whose keen mind and compassionate heart would soon change the course of medicine forever. Hippocrates was born into a family of physicians, and from a young age he was fascinated by the human body and the mysteries of health and illness. He spent countless hours in the company of his father, who was a skilled healer, and learned about the herbs and treatments that could alleviate suffering. However, Hippocrates wanted more than to simply follow in his father's footsteps. He sought to understand the underlying causes of diseases, a quest that would lead him to challenge long-held beliefs. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Hippocrates gathered with his fellow students in a small lecture hall. The air was thick with anticipation as their mentor, a respected physician, began to speak.
Tonight we discuss the nature of illness. For centuries we have believed that diseases are a punishment from the gods, but I challenge you to think differently. What if illnesses are simply a natural part of life?
The students murmured amongst themselves, unsure of this new perspective. Hippocrates, however, leaned forward, his mind racing with possibilities. He envisioned a world where medicine was based on observation and reasoning rather than superstition. As the years went by, Hippocrates honed his skills through relentless study and practice. He traveled to various cities, observing patients and documenting their symptoms and treatments. His notebooks filled with detailed accounts of cases, allowing him to analyze patterns and draw conclusions. One fateful day, Hippocrates was called to treat a young girl named Callista, who had fallen ill with a fever. Her family, terrified and desperate, believed she had been cursed. They implored Hippocrates to perform a ritual to appease the gods.
Let us examine her symptoms and provide the care she needs. Hippocrates carefully examined Callista, noting her symptoms: a high fever, dry mouth, and fatigue. He prescribed a regimen of rest, hydration, and herbal treatments, explaining each step to her worried parents.
Days passed, and as Callista followed his advice, she began to improve. The fever broke, and her strength returned. When Hippocrates visited her home again, he was greeted with tears of joy from her family. Years after treating Callista, Hippocrates' reputation as a healer and teacher spread, drawing both followers and skeptics. One day, a prominent nobleman in Kos fell gravely ill, his condition puzzling other physicians who attributed his illness to divine wrath. Hippocrates was summoned but faced immediate resistance from the nobleman's family, who were fearful of abandoning traditional beliefs. In the dimly lit room of the nobleman's home, Hippocrates entered, calm and focused. He observed his patient, weak, with shallow breaths and trembling hands. While others around him insisted on a sacrifice to appease the gods, Hippocrates made a simple request for herbs, clean water, and a quiet space. The family hesitated, but the nobleman himself, exhausted from his suffering, finally agreed to let Hippocrates proceed. Over the following days, Hippocrates treated the nobleman with careful attention. He balanced rest with herbal remedies and hydration, and the nobleman's health began to return. Witnessing the gradual recovery, the nobleman's family was astounded. When the patient could stand and speak again, Hippocrates addressed them all.
Illness is not a punishment from the gods. It is a natural part of life, one that we can understand and treat through observation and care.
The family bowed in gratitude, and that night, the nobleman's recovery was celebrated, marking another victory for Hippocrates' methods. Inspired by this experience, Hippocrates began to teach others. He gathered a group of aspiring physicians, imparting his knowledge and instilling in them the values of compassion, ethics, and rigorous scientific inquiry. It was during one of these sessions that he introduced the Hippocratic Oath, a promise to uphold ethical standards in medicine.
Do no harm. Always prioritize the well-being of your patients.
The oath became a foundational document for medical ethics, guiding generations of physicians in their practice. Hippocrates' teachings spread throughout Greece and beyond, influencing medical thought for centuries to come. In the final years of his life, Hippocrates' school of medicine in Kos flourished. Students from across Greece gathered to learn under his guidance, sitting on stone benches in an open courtyard surrounded by olive trees. One afternoon, as the sun cast golden light over the gathering, a student stood and asked,
Master, what is the most important lesson in medicine?
Hippocrates, his face weathered but his gaze unwavering, thought carefully.
Compassion. Without compassion, knowledge and skill are hollow. To heal is not merely to cure the body, but to recognize the spirit within each patient.
The students absorbed his words, writing them down, committed to carrying his ideals forward. Hippocrates then led them to a mural in the courtyard, painted with scenes of healers tending to the sick, surrounded by symbols of knowledge and peace.
This is your charge. Remember that medicine is both art and science. One day it will be your responsibility to carry this torch. Promise me that you will hold to these principles and, above all, to the oath we have taken together.
The students pledged their dedication, and as the stars appeared that night, they understood that they were part of a legacy, one that would endure long after Hippocrates himself had gone. As he grew older, Hippocrates continued to write and teach, but he also faced challenges. Critics emerged, questioning his methods and advocating for a return to traditional practices. Undeterred, he remained steadfast in his beliefs, convinced that observation and reason would lead to better patient outcomes. One night, as Hippocrates sat in his study, he reflected on his life's work. The stars twinkled brightly outside, and he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had not only treated illnesses, but had also transformed the way people thought about health and medicine. Hippocrates passed away, but his legacy lived on. His texts became the foundation of medical education, and the principles he championed continued to guide physicians for centuries. In the years that followed, Hippocrates was revered as the father of medicine, his name synonymous with ethics and compassionate care. His story became a source of inspiration for many aspiring healers, encouraging them to think critically, act ethically, and treat their patients with respect and dignity.